Hello and welcome to IDFC First Bank presents Leaders of Tomorrow Season 11. I'm Sunanda Jayaseelan. On the show tonight, I'm in conversation with Nanoclean. Also, the spotlight today is on FreshToHome. My first conversation tonight is with Prateek Sharma of Nanoclean. Prateek, good that you could join us here on the show, really talking about something that affects and impacts each of our lives. A recent report stating that out of the 50 most polluted cities anywhere in the world, India has 39 of them, and that's a huge cause for concern. How are you perhaps addressing this?
So at Nanoclean, we have made a nanofiber technology which can filter smallest of the pollutants which are there in the air, be it PM 2.5, be it bacteria, or be it viruses. So we have devised this novel nanofiber technology. If I have to explain nanofibers are those sort of fabric which has 100 times reduced thread diameter as compared to thread of a normal fabric. And when we incorporate such a thin threads and make a fabric out of it, the pore sizes of this fabrics gets increased by millions of times. And that is the reason why we are able to filter the smallest of the pollutant from the air. Using this novel technology which we have developed inside IIT Delhi, we are making several applications which can ensure you fresh air all across. If you are indoor, you can have our products. If you are outdoor, you can have our products onto your nostrils like naso filters. And indoor, we have our pollution nets for your doors and windows that will allow only pure air to come indoor. We have AC filters that converts your ACs into an air purifiers, and like these products can provide you fresh air throughout, indoor and outdoor both.
The perils of indoor pollution, something perhaps that not a lot of us understand. Give me a sense of the kind of technology and products that exist today. Do you feel they're efficient enough when it comes to really addressing this challenge and this question?
So when you say indoor air pollution, so we don't know that, but our indoor air can be 5 times higher than outdoor pollution. We have made various applications from our technology that can curb your indoor air pollution and keep a check. And our AC filters can even bring this indoor air pollution into permissible ranges in less than 1 hour. Our pollution net will enable only fresh air to come indoor through your doors and windows.
What was the idea behind making a discrete wearable air purifier? How does that work? Where did the idea for that come about?
A face mask is not a solution, I believe, because this causes a lot of suffocations. This causes fogging on your specs. You can't use it for longer durations. Like if you have to use it for 8 hours in a single go, that is not possible in a face mask. While viruses and pollution is always there in your air. So the wearable air purifiers, which is Naso 95, which we have introduced last year, is a stick-on patch which sticks onto your nasal orifice and prevents all the pollutants which are there in the air, be it bacteria, pollens, PM 2.5 or viruses even.
What's the market size for consumer products looking to tackle air pollution? What are some of the markets perhaps which are potential as opportunities for businesses that are in this space? What can you tell us, Prateek?
So you have already mentioned we have 39 most polluted cities in India itself. The market is huge, but necessity of convenient and economic product is very much required. In all the products which you will see over here in our portfolio, you will find that your per day cost will be roughly about 10 rupees. If it is a naso filters, your per day cost will be 10 rupees. If it is an AC filter, it costs you 400 rupees, but it will work for more than a month. So your per day cost will come down to 10 rupees a day. The market size for all the air pollution filtering products or the products which prevents you from respiratory ailments is over $25 billion. So that is the quantum of this market. Apart from India, I think in Asia we have seen that the problem of air pollution is common. If you name countries like Saudi or UAE or countries like Bangladesh, so all these countries are having similar problems which India is having at the moment. So the market is, as I've mentioned, is quite a significant market. We are already shipping to most of these countries. Almost 30 countries we have already tapped in. We have exported our products. We have covered each and every country of Asia. In fact, our neighboring country like Pakistan we are also having a channel partner over there for our products. Soon we have a vision to also enter into European world. In Europe, the air pollution problem is not as such, but the problem of pollen allergy is quite a significant problem over there. In UK, 50% of the population is having pollen allergy. Similar is the case in US. Our product nasofilters can help all these allergic people to curb from this problem.
On the business side, Prateek, any distribution or manufacturing or supply side challenges and constraints you face that you want to then use the platform of Leaders of Tomorrow to really speak to our viewers on?
See, when you are making something new, something innovative, there is always a challenge. The challenge starts from your R&D phase. When you go for mass production, there are challenges, but I'm happy to share that I have been privileged enough to get some significant support from government institutions and government funds, who has enabled me in doing this research, who has enabled me in even making those necessary innovative machineries which we can use to produce our nanofibers. Manufacturing of nanofibers is not a speedy process. This is a time-taking process, and the machineries are also very much capital extensive. But we have received support from these government institutions through which we were able to overcome this challenge.
For any young entrepreneurs who are wondering, how do I secure funding? What would you have to say?
The 3 P's are passion, patience, and perseverance. If you'll keep these 3 P's close to yourself, then I'm sure that you'll overcome all the challenges which an entrepreneur do face in this journey of startups. I want to share with all the budding entrepreneurs that you should always back your product development with a thorough market research, and then also you should launch your product. And timing is always very essential.
The big idea that we're working with for the 11th edition of the show's Ideas for a New India, and my question to you, Prateek, how do you feel we can tap some of those big ideas? What are those big ideas and how can we achieve that?
I think our country is on the right track. We have had many government schemes in the past which is giving benefit to startups like us, be it Startup India scheme, be it tax exemption schemes, be it various schemes under Department of Science and Technology, which is helping entrepreneurs, innovators like us. So we should have more and more such schemes so that we can support our entrepreneurs, because if we'll support our entrepreneurs more, they will create more and more companies which will give more and more jobs to our fellow citizens. So I think by supporting our startups, we can have a bigger growth in the coming decade.
I'm going to take a quick break on that note. On the other side, I'm in conversation with FreshToHome. Do stay tuned, back in just a moment. Welcome back. You're with us here on IDFC First Bank presents Leaders of Tomorrow. My second conversation tonight is a conversation and a chat that I had with FreshToHome a short while earlier, talking about trends and picking his brains really on how this industry and market is growing. Listening. So good having you here with us on the show today. I know the last time we spoke, it was technology driven. We were doing it on Zoom, but it's fascinating to be here in your factory in Bangalore, talking to you about really the D2C omni-channel space, but as importantly, the fish and the meat industry and space in India. So let me really start there, Shan.
Thank you, Sunanda. Thank you for coming all the way.
Not at all, my
It is a bit
pleasure.
of a trek to come here. Thank you for hosting me here.
Absolutely. And you are no stranger when it comes to starting out, because this is your third venture. And just give us a little bit of sense of why you decided that the meat and the fish businesses in India was where you wanted to start your venture, because this is, I would assume, not an easy space. You started at a time when there were not too many other competitors. This market is very fragmented. We'll get to that in a moment. But why this space and industry?
So when I was in the US for my early part of my life, then I relocated back to run Zynga in India. I was a CEO for them. It was a large business where we created games like Farmville and the others. And at that point of time, I had to solve my own personal problem. As a Malayali in Bangalore, I couldn't get good fish, and it was really hard to get the right kind of fish. And I used to buy from my current co-founder, Matthew Joseph's company called as CEO Co-Founder.
Okay.
And he had started a company then in 2012, very early. He was a fish exporter. It was amazing quality, and at some point he couldn't continue the business any longer, because running an e-commerce company is quite different from what a traditional fish exporter is used to.
Okay.
So at that point I couldn't get good fish. I had not the faintest idea that I would ever go from software into online or fish or other aspects of the business.
Sure.
But to solve my own personal problem of not getting good fish, especially chemical-free fish for my kids, I angel funded Matthew. That's really how we got the business up and running. And then over a period of time, I saw that this was going to be a massive affair.
Sure.
So we all jumped in and started a new company in 2015. That's how I went from running software companies to running fish markets.
Fish markets. Not literally, of course, but in the D2C space, have you started seeing this funding winter? What is it like? Give us a sense.
So I think we've been hearing all of this large doom and gloom, right? Funding winter. And
Is it
so on.
as bad? Yeah.
I don't think so. I think we should focus on the positive. I think we are heralding now the funding spring, but it requires a fundamental shift in our thinking, because in 2021 and when everything was in a bull market, everything was getting funded, right? You basically the bottom line aspect of running a business was not being questioned. It was always about the top line, right? Did you grow 10 times versus the previous year? That's essentially the discussion topic. But what we are seeing now is that there is a new North Star metric. It's not just top line, it is also bottom line, right? And companies which are bottom line and especially operating margin profitable are getting actively funded. But companies which are still a lot more path to get there are struggling. Okay. So that's what we are seeing.
Any specific sectors we're talking about?
So every sector that you talk about, basically the unit economics has to be pretty much positive. In our scenario, which is we are an omnichannel D2C brand, we were largely online focused, but we are now moving more omnichannel. What we really focused on is how do I look at it end to end, right? So if I started and limited myself purely as a marketplace vendor or purely as a player who would buy from the city and then sell to consumers, there is not enough margins to be operating margin profitable. So what we've done, and this took us 6 to 7 years to actually get to this kind of a scale, is that we went all the way down to the fishermen and farmers, right? That's quite different from what our competitors would have done, right? We focused on creating a brand. We created one of India's biggest brands in this category. But at the same time, we are also a very large brand among the fishermen and farmers. And that's something that I'm really proud of, because we are working with almost 4,000 fishermen across 400 different harbors in India. That focus allowed us to be getting high gross margins between buying and selling. E-commerce and online, at the end of the day, has a fair amount of cost associated with it, right? Cost of delivery, cost of acquisition, and so on. And so you need a high margins from source back to destination to fulfill that. And that's really what we have done.
As that big idea for a new India, what sectors would you like to call out?
So I think food is an evergreen sector, right? Now, D2C is just the distribution element of food, right? And you create a brand that fundamentally builds trust in consumers' mind that you're going all the way to the source, or you're sticking to a certain sort of practices that you've promised your consumers, right? In our case, it's antibiotic free, it is free from any chemicals or preservatives, right? But underlying is really how you manage food and how you manage food sourcing in general. So for your viewers, I think that's a key area to focus on, right? Rather than being focused on purely on the distribution side, also focus on all the way going down to the source, going to fishermen and farmers in our case, figuring out how to do a social enterprise that not just benefits the consumers, but also in their lives in general. That's really what I think the new India should aspire to.
Sure. Omnichannel seems to be becoming the new wave, if we can call it that. Is that a trend? Is that here to stay? You, based on your experiences, what can you tell our viewers?
So Omnichannel has always been the wave, right? And I'd like to take credit for that, but we are probably the new age folks to start that. Sure. Multiple different people, entrepreneurs before us have already tried it, have made it really successful. If you think about it, when you look at India's overall internet user funnel, at some point in a category like us, it maximizes once you go through the first sort of early cities and so on, right? Yeah. Then if you want to get back to the traditional consumption base, in our category, it's 99% is through wet markets, right? And these are some of the most notorious places to buy a fish and meat from, but that's essentially where all consumers are. So we can't change that habit. So fundamentally, you have to join them. You can't beat them, you have to join the party. So essentially, that's what we've done. We've set up offline stores where consumers are able to come, touch and feel, experience our product. And then we see that there is a huge pattern of them then buying online. Okay. So that pattern is here to stay. And it's just not for our industry, it's there for pretty much every industry. Just to give you a sense, Bangalore alone, we've launched 30 stores. On those 30 stores, the revenue contribution is high, but it's not material to us because our overall e-commerce revenue is quite large. Okay. But we see 20% of Bangalore's new users coming from those stores that we built out, right? So just imagine 20% of a huge amount of user base is coming from offline first, moving online. So that's why we are now in the process of launching another 100 stores in the next 12 months' time.
Okay. We started by talking about how fragmented this market is. Yeah. So when you're having these stores and you also have people who are running these unbranded stores, and this happens with most industries, of course. How does a market leader like yourself ensure that you are standing out? Is this a lesson in branding really, and marketing is what I'm trying and hoping to get from you?
So I think social enterprise is really the theme that, at least you asked me, you started the question by saying that I had 2 ventures in the valley and that I have started something in India, right? And one of the things that really attracted me about what I'm doing right now is I'm working with sort of the grassroots level sections of the society. Because there's one aspect of FreshToHome that you see, which is really the consumer brand, what we deliver to the consumers and so on. But really what you don't see is the most important aspect of it. It's really the work that we do with almost 17,000 to 20,000 overall people, right? That's the people that we employ directly and indirectly. And of which about 4,000 people are fishermen. Okay. These people are ones whose lives are quite erratic. Yeah. Monsoon seasons, for example, there'll be trawling bans. At that point of time, sustenance for them is a very big issue. The problem of alcoholism is quite a high thing. Like the men are reasonably always drunk, and it's women who run their families, okay, right? About 30% of our workforce, especially in the harbor towns, are all women, right? So this is basically figuring out how to take the lives of those fishermen and farmers. Now, one of the big things in that industry is that the primary exploitation is through the middlemen. The middlemen are the ones that are an economic necessity at this point to take a fisherman's produce from a harbor town back to a place like Bangalore. You will see at least 3 or 4 middlemen in this whole supply chain. Each of them will take a 10 or 15% cut. So we're talking about potentially about 40, 45% or 50% of the economic value is eaten by the middlemen in the whole process. Okay. So that's a key area that we have taken an active stance in, right? So what we've done is we've given a technology, a platform called as the auctions platform. A fisherman or a farmer who is typically not very literate can use their phone to actually auction their produce back with us. This has been very disruptive. It has allowed us to cut off the middlemen while giving about 20% higher price to the fishermen and farmers. So this is quite different from anybody else, right? Any competitor, because we act both, not just on the front end, but also on the back end. And that's one of the most fulfilling aspects of my job, right? Sure.
Out of time on tonight's conversation. If you have any feedback for us, do let us know. Our details on your screens as we speak. Thanks for watching. Have a good night.